Have you noticed this online lately? There's this huge wave of nostalgia, this kind of digital homesickness for a year that honestly feels like it was just yesterday, 2016. So let's get into why. Because it tells a really fascinating story about just how much our online world has been flipped on its head in only a decade. It really all kicks off with this one hashtag, #BringBack2016. You've probably seen it sweeping across social media, but what are people really wanting to bring back? It's pretty clear it's more than just a year. It's a feeling. It's a memory of a totally different kind of internet. And this quote right here, it just hits the nail on the head. People are calling 2016 the last year of digital innocence. You know, that final moment before the internet started to feel, well, kind of heavy. It was a time when our digital world felt a whole lot less like a marketplace and way more like a playground. And that playground, oh man, it was defined by these amazingly simple, shared things. Do you remember that summer? I mean, everyone was outside, chasing virtual creatures with Pokémon GO. We were all freezing in place for the mannequin challenge or going nuts over a perfectly landed water bottle flip. It was all so low stakes, so collective, and just fun. So here's the most important part. That nostalgia is for a time when our online interactions felt genuinely human-led. The trends came from the bottom up, the connections felt authentic, and the community felt real. Because, you know what? For the most part, it was. But that feeling of innocence, it just didn't last. A huge shift was right around the corner, one that would completely change our online experience, turning it from something social into something totally driven by algorithms. Okay, now look at this because this slide just lays it all out, the before and after. Back in 2016, your feed was simple, right? It was stuff from people you chose to follow, and you saw it in the order it was posted. The whole point was to just see what your friends were up to. Now fast forward to today, and your feed is sourced by AI and corporate partners, it's ordered by some hyper-optimized algorithm, and its only real goal is to keep you on the app for as long as possible. And this whole new environment? It's got a name? Algorithm media. It's a world where the main curator isn't you or your friends anymore. It's an aggressive algorithm. And its top priority isn't your social life, it's the platform's bottom line. And that's why that #BringBack2016 trend is so much more than just thinking about Pokémon. It's basically an unconscious, collective protest against this giant shift to algorithm media. It's a critique of everything we've lost in the shuffle. So what exactly did we lose? Well, that brings us to our next section, the very real, very human cost of living in a world that is constantly algorithmically optimized. It really makes you stop and ask a pretty tough question. In this race to create a perfectly engaging, endlessly scrolling feed, did we accidentally trade away a piece of our own well-being? And this chart illustrates the connection perfectly. As the use of those For You style algorithms skyrocketed between 2016 and today, so did the reported levels of digital fatigue. It's pretty stark. The more curated our feeds became, the more exhausted we all got. This feeling has also been given a name, algorithm fatigue. And it's that very specific sense of exhaustion, that deep collective longing for a simpler time, a time when we were the ones in the driver's seat of our own digital lives. At the end of the day, the whole shift can be boiled down to this one powerful statement. We went from a model of just sharing our lives with our community to one where we are all basically competing for engagement and attention in this massive global marketplace. And that is a huge psychological change. But you know, this isn't just a story about what we've lost. A pretty fascinating counter-movement is starting to bubble up. So let's take a look at how people are beginning to push back in a movement towards something called unoptimized living. And that's the key phrase right there. If the problem is hyper-optimization, the solution people are grabbing for is to consciously choose to be unoptimized, to be a little more real, a little more deliberate, and a lot less friendly to the algorithm. So what does that actually look like day to day? Well, it's about taking these small but really meaningful steps. It means choosing raw, unpolished photos over perfect filters. It means deleting apps that track our every single move, and it means demanding that these platforms give us back some of the simplicity we used to have. Let's be real for a second. The clock is not turning back to 2016. Pokémon GO is not going to save us. But the spirit of this whole movement isn't really about going back in time. It's about taking the lessons from that year of innocence to make more conscious, more human-centric choices about our digital future, starting right now. And that leaves us with one last thing to think about. The platforms are built for optimization, sure, but we still have a choice in how we use them. So the question is, in your own online life, how are you going to reclaim your digital innocence?